Well, good morning and welcome to another wine steward video. What you see before you right now is a partial glass of wine, never full enough, I would say, and a really beautiful bottle of wine that you have probably never heard of. In fact, until, maybe a month ago when I bid for this baby, I had never heard of it myself. It is called Chateau Fonsalade. It's from the area of Saint-Chinian in the Languedoc region of the south of France. Formerly known by some as the Wine Lake, disparagingly, in that this is where grocery store stuff would come from, and kind of like the Central Valley of California, a big source of not so good wine. That was only because the attitude wasn't so good. Everybody needs their bulk wines, and that was the source. But what's happened in the meantime is subregions of the Languedoc have been identified as having really great weather and, even more importantly, fantastic soil. All of these things adding up to what we call terroir in fancy French. But it means that the place deserves more credit and more attention than it was getting historically. So the Languedoc is now making very, very good site-specific values. Yes, because the area is still somewhat maybe looked down upon, and because the area makes so much wine, the wine from there often costs quite a bit less than it might from, let's say, the Rhone, and certainly than Bordeaux and Burgundy and other more famous ritzy places, you could call them. So this Chateau Fonsalade, we are selling this for the mid-teens, and when I look around online, I'm seeing it for usually about $25. So we get a very nice deal on a wine. Is it good wine? Yes, this is very pleasing Grenache, 80%, 20% Syrah, and it's from the very good 2019 vintage, so it's got a tiny bit of time on it. The fruit is explosive. The color, as you can see, is sumptuously dark. And this is actually occurring in our Curious Wine Club, formerly known as the Tuesday Night Wine Club. And before that, we called it the Andrew Jackson Wine Club, because back then it cost 20 bucks and that was the dude on the $20 bill, don't you know? Well, this wine is being squeezed into that wine club budget really remarkably. In other words, the point is you're getting fantastic value in that club, and I would like to think in all of the clubs. We taste over 100 wines every week in order to fill the bill, your particular bill, your preference. We have 7 different monthly wine clubs, different budgets, different senses of direction per style of wine and color of wine. And I'm just using this as the introductory to the video to say that, yes, beloved wine club members, your January wines are ready to pick up, so come and get them, including this bottle. And we ordered extra in case you who are not members of that particular club, or maybe not even members at all, can obtain some. So we have extra of this beautiful wine from Saint-Chinian in the Languedoc. Now, while we're on the wine club subject, we're certainly not going to describe all of those wine club wines today, but I would like to call your attention to the fact that kind of on the other extreme of quality, a higher end club exists in our pantheon of wine clubs, if that's the right word, called World Class. The World Class Wine Club gives you red wine, typically red wine, very occasionally one white wine, from all over the place, anywhere but here. Essentially, it is a step up from our Wine Adventure Wine Club, which gives you foreign red wines for, I think, your $43 per month subscription. And this takes you into, I think, the 70s for up-a-notch quality. What's happening this month in the World Class Wine Club are these 2 wines from the exact same place of Tuscany, Italy. In fact, more site-specifically, we can say they're both from Montalcino. So what we have is the little brother and the big brother wines from there. They're not made by the same producer, but we thought it would be very, very cool to give you the Rosso di Montalcino, right next to the more important and more expensive Brunello di Montalcino this month. Both wines have to be made by local wine law with Sangiovese and nothing else. 100% Sangiovese is in both of these wines, and therefore we can expect them to be higher in energy, in acidity, in food craving, salivation-inducing acidity. So either one would go wonderfully with a juicy ribeye, other bold foods as well. But the most famous wine, perhaps, we could all agree, of Tuscany, Italy. I mean, we apologize, Chianti Classico, you're famous too, but this is also made of Sangiovese, slightly south of Chianti, and great stuff in our world-class wine club, the little brother, the big brother, Brunello di Montalcino and little brother Rosso di Montalcino. The difference, sometimes a particular producer is using his or her younger vines to make the Rosso. The requirement difference is that this Brunello be aged longer. So what we have here is a 2021 Rosso and a 2019, a very nice year for anything from Tuscany, a really good year, really from virtually anything in Europe. Anyway, enjoy these two, your World Class Wine Club members. And once again, we did order extra of especially this Brunello, since a lot of you were into it. So Notte d'Incanto, it's a weird word, but it's it's the name of this particular Brunello, of which we have enough to sell all of you. So come on and get some really lovely wine. All right, where shall we go? We've got all these mnemonic devices in front of me. You can't see them, but they are backstage here. Now let's get this one up here to remind you that, yes, we are in the spirits business, and this is a new find for us. We have a French friend named Guillaume. He works for Planet Wine, and he sells us both very good wines and spirits nowadays. And this wine, it really fits the fact that he's from France and he's selling us French wine typically. This is also a spirit from the south of France, from the Marseille area. This is called, I don't know, 12, I guess you could say. Isn't that 12 in French, I believe? But the product quality or product type, this spirit is called Pastis. Pastis. And as you can see, a little game is being played on the label. What game is that? That might be familiar to you as bocce, but this is actually a bocce, comparable to bocce game played in the south of France, really all over France, but especially in the south of France. You might be in some old stone village on a hot summer day and see old men playing this game called Pétanque. Pétanque. And it involves all these bocce-like balls, as you can see, and one little tiny ball, boom. That's called the cochonnet, that tiny ball there. We might call it the jack, and it's what everybody's aiming for, aiming to stay around. I'm not sure how to play this game, but it's a component of the game, and it's also a component of the packaging here. You are, along with getting a really nice bottle, Pastis, this spirit, you're getting a little jack or cochonnet. There it is. 12-12 it indicates the match point. Somebody is about to win a round of pétanque with that score. So 13 wins the game, apparently. I'm learning these things. Anyway, what do you do with this stuff? This is like anise-flavored answer to absinthe, which got kind of outlawed a long time ago in France because it was felt that it was... Actually, it was really more about the conservatives against the bohemian attitude at the time, because bohemians loved to drink absinthe. And they were blaming absinthe on people dying. Well, the main reason why they were dying wasn't because it was hallucinogenic, but really because it was almost 80% alcohol. So people getting shit-faced to the point of dying sometimes on absinthe. This is the answer to that. Absinthe-like flavors in that star anise is the main component, and a little bit of almond in this one as well. But we're only at about 40 or 45% alcohol here. What do you do with it? What do they do with it? What they do with it is they pour 1 part into a glass and then about 5 parts very cold water on top of that. And the appearance goes from this translucent amber color to a milky look. And what you could do is plop in an ice cube on top of that. They also ask you not to put this in the fridge, not to keep this chilled, because it'll turn that color prematurely. So in order to maintain this, keep it in your liquor cabinet or whatever you keep your fancy bottles of spirits in. But Pastis, for while you play pétanque this summer, you can start practicing now until you reach a competitive level of pétanque play, and practice with a glass of this. It would be fun, wouldn't it? So from France, Pastis, pretty cool, huh? What else do we have here? Well, what's coming up? I believe February 14th will indicate the next Valentine's Day. And so we have this little gifty. Once again, we've done this before. We've never used a half bottle. It's always been a smaller bottle of Ruby Port, but this time we're buying up a little bit for a little bit of Portugal and a little bit of Spain happening. You know, maybe we could call that the Iberian Peninsula of Love on February 14th. In that port, real port, comes from Portugal. This is Ware's Warrior Ruby Port, which goes wonderfully with dark chocolate. And so what do we have behind it? Kind of hard to see, but a nice big chocolate bar, dark chocolate from España, Spain. So this is, well, I think it's well under $30, a fun thing to grab and take home to your sweetie. To share Ruby Port and chocolate, a classic pairing of sweet things. Voila. They are ready to grab right now. And of course, what else is going on right now? Well, for some of you, what else is happening is what isn't happening. In other words, the imbibing of alcohol. So we are bound and determined to have some alternatives for you. One thing I forgot to bring up is a sparkling non-alcohol wine. Sparkling in that I have tasted a lot of non-alcohol stuff pretending to be wine and haven't thought much of it. It seems like these attempts are most successful when they are sparkling. So that's downstairs. As a product called Ribot. Ribot, I think, is from Alsace, France, and it's a good sparkling non-alcohol wine. Well, I thought there was never going to be such thing as a still wine that would be any good as a non-alcohol beverage. Here, we just found it. This is made with Sauvignon Blanc in, I think, the Languedoc region of France. Speaking of the Languedoc, this is called Fumée Blanche, kind of a play on the Fumée Blanc term. And it is, in fact, made with de-alcoholized Sauvignon Blanc wine, and it is pretty damn good. I mean, when you smell it, you'd say, yeah, I smell the Sauv Blanc. That vibrant, citrusy quality is happening in this. What else can we offer you? And in fact, we can offer this to you up at the wine bar. These are now orderable off of our wine bar menu. So if you're hanging out with people who are having a glass of wine and you're feeling a little left out, why don't you have one of these mocktails we've brought aboard? Two of them are known as Lyre. The company is called Lyre, L-Y-R-E, a pretty cool name for a mocktail, I would say. One of them resembles a gin and tonic. This is my favorite, but others of you are into the spritz thing. So this Amalfi spritz very nicely replicates the stuff with hooch in it. Now, what just came in, and what I'm very happy to add to the little grouping here, is this chili margarita. Now, remember, it's a mocktail, no alcohol added. But what we can do for you is get a glass of ice. Yes, we have some ice here now. And get this going. And you can hang out with your wine drinking friends and look just as cool as they are with a mocktail from Aplos. And hey, let's give it a little dressing there. How about a dehydrated lime peel or lime slice in there too? So let's cheers and happy, well, not so happy dry January, but if you got to do it, do it. I'm going to finish this after this video. That's really good. All right, let's tell you about three wines. Three wines that aren't being poured at our wine bar, at least not this week. I think they're going to be appearing up here pretty soon. Yes, the wine bar is by the glass only for one more week, and then we're going to start our more typical routine of pouring tasting flights next week. But in the meantime, there are some lovely wines over there. Sancerre, a sparkling wine from Bordeaux, France, and Mexican Cabernet of all things. It's pretty damn good. In fact, somebody came in the other day and they had the Pinot Noir that I'm about to describe. In fact, it is on the wine bar, and that Mexican Cabernet. They bought 6 bottles of each. They said, we need to take a case home. And we gave them a nice deal, and boom. So let's tell you about that Pinot first. This Pinot has perhaps been described in one other video. Well, you enjoyed this so much over the holidays. We brought in 3 cases and they flew out of here once you tasted this wine upstairs. This is 2016 Charles Heinz Pinot Noir, made entirely with the Swan clone of Pinot Noir. That's a particular selection or clone of the Pinot Noir group of clones. There's a lot of them. The Swan clone, as grown in one of the most famous Pinot Noir and Chardonnay vineyards in Northern California. In fact, I think the Wine Advocate used to call it, or still does, one of the Grand Cru vineyards of Northern California, if there was such a thing officially. Charles Heinz would certainly be named among those few. Charles Heinz, 2016, again, is giving you fruit that is still there, and these more mysterious qualities, secondary aspects, are now creeping in. So you've got a very complex Pinot Noir happening here for under $30. I mean, you're getting this beautiful library, fruit still there, and complexity coming in, aged effect in a under $30 Pinot Noir from one of the greatest vineyards in Northern California. Can you believe it? So that is actually available by the glass up here. And you can also grab some, because like I said, we flew through the 3 cases that we got. I wrote back to the provider and I said, do you have any of that left? I'll bet it all get bought up. And in fact, they had 4 cases left. We brought them all in. We now own all that remains of Charles Heinz 2016 Swan Clone Pinot Noir from the Sonoma Coast. You got to check it out. Let's tell you about 2 more wines, not on the wine bar, but maybe they will be next week. Let's tell you about this wine, which is a rarity. Well, you know that Châteauneuf-du-Pape is not a rarity at the Wine Steward. We do a lot with this wine type, but we only see white Châteauneuf-du-Pape every so often. I mean, not so often, I should say. It is a rarity in that Châteauneuf-du-Pape, the wine region in the southern Rhone Valley of France, only makes 5.5, 6% white wine. So white wine from there is rare. Does that mean it's not good? No, it used to be not good because they would send it over here too late in an unoxidized state. But this is a 2023. We are now getting this stuff when it is fresh. And what's in it? What are we having in a Châteauneuf-du-Pape Blanc? Well, there could be Bourbon in there. There could be Grenache Blanc. There can't be Viognier, by the way. Even though Viognier is grown there, it is not a component officially of Châteauneuf-du-Pape Blanc, interestingly. Well, this particular one is 1/3 aforementioned Grenache Blanc, 1/3 Claret, and those two combine to give you beautiful fruit and keep this in check, because this is a warm area and this wine could be over the top in size if it didn't have those under control white fruit forward varieties. The third component, the last third of this wine, is committed to the Roussanne grape, and Roussanne is in fact a little more rich in palate feel, extravagant in its nose, and it actually offers as well a certain level of durability. So a Châteauneuf-du-Pape Blanc is bound to be more ageable if it has a significant component of Roussanne in it. Did you know? So this is from Cru Saint-Martin. Like I said, brand new, fresh 2023. I had it, I had to buy it. I'm not buying hardly any wine in January for obvious reasons. It's kind of slow, but when something like this crosses our path, we have to grab. And so I did, and I think you should too. What to do with it? Have it sooner than later with halibut. That's what I would have, like a richer white fish, where this would be fantastic. Pork roast as well. Something a little rich. White wine is just full of beautiful tree or orchard style fruit. Orchard fruit means peaches, pears, nectarines, and it's really good. Apricots, perhaps. Nice stuff. Okay, finally, one more wine. This is another wine of which we bought all that remained. We have done a lot with a Washington State producer called Long Shadows over the years. Those wines, which all priced for well over $60, are magnificent. They are so good, they are worth their price. Well, what happens to the barrels that don't quite make the cut at the Long Shadows winery? Do they sell it off onto the bulk market? More often than not, they keep it and they bottle a lesser wine. So this is a Long Shadows project that gets labeled with the 9 Hats label, and this is Sangiovese. We talk a lot about the Bordeaux varieties has grown up in Washington State, and also point out that the area is very, very great for the Rhone varieties as well, but it also kicks ass with Italian varieties such as Barbera and Sangiovese, such as this. This wine is not over $50 or $60, and in fact, it barely goes over $20. I think it's $20.99 regular price. You beloved Wine Club members get it for 10% off of that. And I just ask you to have a look at for what I would call a very correct New World style, in that it has a little more fruit than a Chianti perhaps, but it's still got the good acidity. New World style Sangiovese from 9 Hats. 3 cases strong down there. That's all they had left, and we got them at a good price because we bought them out. So that's what's happening at the Wine Steward, a lot of stuff. And in fact, I forgot to talk about the fact that we would love to fill more seats for our upcoming Wine 101 class. So that's the final topic. I don't really have anything to show you to indicate that that class is going to be fun as hell. We're going to treat at least 10 different Wine 101 style topics, like why is glass shape important? Why is blind tasting important, and why do I hate it sometimes? So this is going to be a very personalized look at wine. You know, the TWS, the Wine Steward perspective on what we feel like everybody ought to know about wine, whether you're a beginner or brushing up. So let's take a look at that. It's 2 Tuesdays away, I believe, and we would love to sell some seats. We're keeping the price nice and low. Every one of those topics, whether it's 10 or a dozen, is accompanied by a very good wine to make our point a little more delicious. How about that? So think about signing up for Wine 101, and in the meantime, Happy New Year once again. Happy Valentine's Day coming up. Don't forget that little gifty. happy or not so happy dry January if you're playing that. And wine club members, your wines are ready to pick up. Thank you for your membership. See you soon.